Welcome to That's Good Sports. I am Brandon. No division values the offensive line less than the AFC West Perna. Here's something I haven't said in a decade. The Denver Broncos have the best offensive line in the AFC West. It may have taken 2 years, but we might finally see Jawan James at right tackle. The Chargers upgraded their center position, while the Raiders were forced to trade theirs, and the Chiefs released 2 tackles, a center, and signed 2 guards. All I will say is this. Chargers, Raiders, and Chiefs fans, you are lucky. You are lucky my Broncos are still searching for a quarterback. Because if they weren't, I'd be talking a lot of trash today. Because the excitement about the Broncos and free agency is palatable. We've been beaten down, but we have optimism. Now, I already talked about the Broncos in this video, so today is about mildly roasting my lovable frenemies in the AFC West. That's good, sports. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel. I take NFL news, I make videos about things happening in the NFL, and some have said I do it in a more douchey fashion than anybody else online. If you want to support this douche, you can do it at patreon.com/thatsgoodsports. Next week, I think it'll be Wednesday, the final day of March, we'll do our Zoom meeting for $10 a month patrons. That is coming next week. I'll put that info on Patreon. Today I have big dick shoutouts for Jesse James caught that ball at James Caught It. I do recommend following at James Caught It on Twitter. He just reminds everybody every day that has passed since Jesse James actually caught that pass against the Patriots. Seth F, Orlando Santos, Bill upping to $20. Thanks, Bill. Russ Gunter, Daddy Bruce, Blue Ridge Mountain Plumbing, now at $225 a month. Thanks for the kind words, Blue Ridge. And yes, they are the best plumbing in Central Virginia. Check them out if you're in Virginia. Jeffrey Bailey, Paul Spencer. I don't like coffee, but I'll pay $16 just to feel your beans. Thanks for the coffee. Shout out, BenchwarmerBrew.com. And Donkeys Rock. Thank you guys for your support. Let's start with the Raiders, because they had a good start to free agency. It only took 4 years, but they finally may have found a suitable replacement for Khalil Mack with Yannick Ngakoue. I think this is probably their best free agent signing since Desmond Howard, Javon Walker, Aaron Brooks, Dante Culpepper, Dwayne Starks. Okay, this might be the best Raiders free agency signing ever. Once Matthew Judon departed Baltimore, I thought for sure that the Ravens would re-sign Yannick Ngakoue, someone they traded for mid-season, but instead the Raiders get him for a very fair 2-year, $26 million deal. On Ngakoue's side, he screwed up by not taking Jacksonville's previous offer of $19 million per year. Yannick is second only to the Donald for hugest amount of pressure since entering the league in 2019. I know this is a good move for Vegas, because I fucking hate it. Now, wide receiver Nelson Aguilar may have left, but I think the Raiders found a better receiver to replace him in John Brown, who is leaving a crowded group of receivers in Buffalo. It's a 1-year deal worth up to $5.5 million. Henry Ruggs and John Brown are now the fastest receiving duo not playing for the Chiefs. So second's not bad. And then, left with no choice, backup quarterback Marcus Mariota agreed to take a $7 million pay cut to stay with the Raiders. In similar news, my great aunt Betty is going to switch to drinking generic soda brands so she can keep fueling her diabetes. Derek Carr and Marcus Mariota. Channeled my inner Roger Goodell there. Derek Carr and Marcus Mariota, the real losers in Raiders free agency. Don't worry, Derek. We believe in you so much, we think you can thrive without an offensive line. And when Derek gets hurt, due to no pass pro, you can jump in and be a starter again, Marcus, for a third of what you thought you'd get paid. And so I am done talking about the things I think the Raiders did well. Because they may have to ask Yannick Ngakoue to play both ways on the line since they don't have any offensive linemen left. It started when they traded Trent Brown back to the Patriots, then Las Vegas was forced to re-sign the oldest bully in the league after cutting him in Richie Incognito because they couldn't convince Kyle Long to play in the same uniform that his father once thrived. Instead, they re-signed Denzel Good, whose nickname is Training Day, because Denzel actually bad. He was the most penalized lineman and allowed the most QB hits on the Raiders line. Then they traded Gabe Jackson to Seattle and traded three-time Pro Bowler Rodney Hudson to the Cardinals. The Raiders were going to release these linemen, but did manage to net a 3rd and 5th round draft pick instead, so at least Vegas got something. Ironic now, because the Raiders are the team in free agency where the house always loses. The only offensive lineman who wanted to be with the Raiders was Donald Penn, and he signed a one-day contract just so he could retire. In addition to having a fire sale on the offensive line, the Raiders chose to pay Cardinals running back Kenyon Drake $11 million over 2 years. Good for Kenyon Drake, who will have enough money to jumpstart his music career in retirement and compete against Canadian Drake as the king of pop rap. But it is nice to see that John Gruden and Mike Mayock appreciate busts on other teams as well. Solomon Thomas, who is a guy I wholeheartedly root for, just couldn't find success in San Francisco on a stellar defensive line. Like Clelin Ferrell, he's an extremely nice guy, which will prove that nice guys do finish last when the Raiders are at the bottom of the AFC West at the end of this season. The Raiders having the kindest defensive line in the NFL is a bigger identity crisis than the Washington football team, considering keeping the name the Washington football team. Overall, I give the Raiders an A+ grade in free agency, as I think they have made it very easy for Bradley Chubb, Von Miller, and the Broncos' revamped defense to take advantage of Derek Carr. I actually prefer the Raiders as a dirty team that poses a threat. I like rooting against that. Unfortunately, John Gruden has turned them into a less talented version of the Chargers. The Chargers lost tight end Hunter Henry, who said he wanted to play with a great quarterback, and then promptly joined Cam Newton coming off of his worst season. So I can see why the Chargers let Henry go. His football IQ, very, very low. Instead, they're gonna roll with Donald Parham and Jared Cook, who they signed for $6 million. What I have learned this free agency period is that if you fuck up in the playoffs, you're gonna get a new contract. Aaron Jones fumbled, Kevin King forgot to cover, and Jared Cook basically cost the Saints all hope of defeating the Buccaneers by fumbling the game away. LA did make a big splash by landing former Packers center Corey Linsley. According to Warren Sharp, the Chargers were 31st in pass block win rate and 32nd in run block win rate. Very troubling when you consider there are only 32 teams. What that's basically saying is Justin Herbert had to play behind the Chiefs' Super Bowl offensive line for the entire year, and he still managed to set the rookie touchdown passing record in just 15 games. Specifically at center, Dan Thuney allowed the most hurries and the most pressures last season, while Corey Linsley allowed the fewest. So that's going from last to first at your center position, which you need trust at center, not simply because you're using another man's taint as the starting point for every play under center, but because they call out blitzes, coverages, and every single player named Mike. So essentially, this was an excellent move for the Chargers, but I will personally miss Dan Thuney's mullet. Thuney is what you get if Gardner Minshew and Kenny Powers were able to procreate. LA also signed former Steelers guard Matt Feeler to a 3-year, $21 million deal, and will bring back corner Mike Davis, who's a solid corner, and kicker Michael the Money Badger Badgley, who was more Badger than money last season. Look, I like Brandon Staley coming in. I think that's a good head coaching hire. The Chargers do have their quarterback, which is more than I can say for my Broncos, but their biggest needs are at the next 3 most important positions on the team: left tackle, cornerback, and edge with the departure of Melvin Ingram. Considering they lost Hunter Henry, Casey Hayward, Rayshon Jenkins, Trey Turner, and Melvin Ingram, I think they've broken even. So they get a grade of BenchwarmerBrew.com, my personal coffee brand. Because they better hope some of their backup players start to shine as starters. And finally, the Kansas City Chiefs. Thank you, Pro Football Focus, for finally finding one thing that Drew Lock does better than Patrick Mahomes. Besides date. Drew Lock had 10 turnover-worthy passes over 20 yards, which sounds like a lot, but only one other quarterback had more. Patrick Mahomes with 11. We know the Chiefs let go of their 2 starting tackles. That's an old story, but at least they made up for it by signing 2 guards. Kansas City paid Joe Thuney $80 million over 5 years, which is quite a bit of money for a guard. To be fair to the Chiefs, if you have a great quarterback, you do not need to have a perfect offensive line. And the Chiefs have a great quarterback. Unlike, say, Peyton Manning and Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes is not a quarterback who compensates for bad O-line play by getting rid of the ball quickly. He does the opposite. He extends plays like Aaron Rodgers, Steve Young, and Russell Wilson, which is good enough to win you exactly 1 Super Bowl in your career. That is the only reason those guys only have 1 ring like Frodo. Super Bowls are won when teams can dominate the line of scrimmage, and I applaud the short memory of Chiefs fans. If Kansas City finds great tackle play from Lucas Niang, and maybe through the draft, they'll be okay. But if that offensive line is not very good, well, have fun. Have fun not winning the AFC West until week 18, Chiefs fans. You're gonna have to go a whole season before you win the division. And I can't wait to see the dumb look on your faces when your team has to try in that final game just to maintain its dominance over the division. You guys, so still good, but bad. But how bad are things in Las Vegas if Kyle Long chose the Chiefs over the Raiders? Apparently, Kyle Long went to Las Vegas just to tell them he would terrorize them by signing with the Chiefs, and that his dad does not say hello. The Chiefs also decided to take part in Taco Tuesday, re-signing defensive end Taco Charlton to a 1-year deal. I'll be honest and say I didn't totally remember that Taco Charlton was even a member of the Chiefs. Kansas City also released running back Damian Williams and chose to evolve with Darwin Thompson and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Overall grade for the Chiefs is tacos. Maybe Kansas City didn't get better, but a taco is always pretty fucking good. What I don't understand is why Juju Smith-Schuster, Corey Davis, Curtis Samuel, and AJ Green all said no to playing for the Chiefs. Curtis Samuel chose Washington, Corey Davis, the fucking Jets, Green, the Cardinals, and Juju went back to Pittsburgh with his tailpipe between his TikTok. Any one of those guys in Kansas City would have pissed me off. Maybe it's ego. Maybe each of those guys outside of, AJ Green thinks they can be the #1 receiver on their new team. And in Kansas City, they would probably be the 3rd target. Maybe none of them wanted to take a discount only to have to live in Missouri. Or maybe they all saw what we saw in the Super Bowl. The Chiefs pass catchers getting blamed for all of their problems. And finally, I shall roast my Broncos. I'll be fair to the Chiefs, the Chargers, and the Raiders because nobody in the AFC West was perfect this offseason. So, yeah, the Denver Broncos, besides doing everything absolutely 100% correct, they got to figure out quarterback. Boom, roasted. Thanks for watching That's Good Sports. Please subscribe here on YouTube. I do new videos whenever the hell I want, but there's a lot of them every week. You can watch the next video on the screen right now. Click it, links in the description. Do it, baby, yeah. All right, good times. Roll it, rock it, sock it, pop it, cock it, and lock it.